prisoners are going to be released up to 2 months early as the government desperately tries to actually make empty the space which is in the overcrowded jails, right? So low-level lags serving sentences of less than 4 years, which is probably this lot, will likely to be eligible as part of this scheme, but they will still be monitored with GPS tags. Prison populations have ballooned in recent decades. The latest figures shy of operational capacity of 89,000. Doesn't seem like very many people, considering the number of crimes that get committed here. Joining me now, though, former Metropolitan Police Detective Chief Inspector Mike Neville. Mike, we're just looking at the old car thefts there going on. Those guys won't be in jail for very long. And presumably the 2 months that they'll get released early is already on top of the, half the term that they already get released anyway. So if you get released 10 years, you're already probably likely to get out in 5. Now it could be even sooner.
Yeah, Mike, it's just ridiculous, isn't it? That criminals know that about one out of 100 thefts get solved. About 5 or 4 or 5 of 100 burglars are solved. So you've got hardly any chance of being caught at all. And then if you're caught, the Tories have got rid of 12-month sentences anyway, so you're very unlikely to go to jail. And even if you do go to jail, you're getting an extra 2 months off anyway. So the public, I think that people have their head in their hands with this because they just see that people are just walking into shops and stealing, walking into their homes blatantly, stealing. They're stealing cars, just like you've shown there. All these crimes would be classified as non-violent, so they'd be eligible for this release scheme. And on top of that, you've got the government saying, oh, we're going to deport all these foreign criminals. And you know, as well as I do, that as soon as a criminal is threatened with being deported, there'll be human rights lawyers and everything else. And the chance of being deported is the same chance of me and you winning the lottery this weekend. It's absolutely ridiculous.
Yeah, I mean, isn't it something like 10 to 12% of the population in our prisons is now from overseas territories, shall we say, and many of them Albanians. I mean, they keep going on about how they've got this great scheme to deport Albanians. That should be easy, shouldn't it?
Everything should be easy, but nothing's easy because what you've got some politicians obviously would say, oh yeah, we want tougher sentences and the like, but we've seemingly got the whole civil service blob working against that. You know, the moment Suella Braverman said anything, there was people campaigning against her, and behind all them you've got like an army of human rights lawyers who get money off the government really to do what they're doing. They get legal aid to help these criminals. And so the net result is that the British public is left living in a den of thieves.
Yeah, absolutely right. I mean, call me old-fashioned, but wouldn't it be quite a good idea to build a few more prisons?
Well, I always go back to the Dirty Dozen film. You remember that, where they had to build it? You know, you didn't have a bed to sleep in until you built your own prison. So,
yeah.
But what amazes me here, Mike, is who is at work, and then suddenly somebody notices, do you know what? We're 99.7% full in the male prison population. Somebody should have a kick up the backside, because surely they must have, when it gets to 80%, you think, there's a warning signal here, yeah. We need to do something about it. And as you say, opening up an old RAF base, there's all these old police stations that have got cells. When I was a young PC, we used to earn overtime by guarding prisoners because there wasn't enough room then. But at what point does somebody get a kick up the backside for allowing this to happen in the first place?
I know. It is incredible, isn't it? Another example just of something that doesn't work in this country. Mike Neville, thank you very much indeed. Panel's back with me. Ben Habib, Emma Woolf, Mike Indian as well. I mean, Ben, again, another example of lacklustre administration, useless government, foresight not in any way a part of what they do.
Well, they can't use RAF bases because they're being used by illegal migrants,
yeah.
aren't they?
Yeah. But they're not very nice either, so I mean, the migrants don't like them. The one in that one in Essex, Westerfield, is it? Yeah. They're taking them in minibuses into Braintree to go shopping.
I know, well,
every week.
As one should.
As you know, because you know, they get a bit bored.
Yeah.
What can you do?
But you know, there are 3 expressions in British politics that really offend me, and one of them is the definition that they've attributed to what they now call petty crime.
Yes.
Which effectively is the decriminalisation of a whole array of criminal activity, including the theft of cars, which has been going on for a long time. So when you ring the police and you say, my car's been stolen, they don't do anything about it. They give you a crime number and they think they've done their job because you can go and get the money off insurance company. But of course, the amount of money you get for your car that was stolen is nowhere near what you would have to pay to get a similar car because it's been depreciated. And of course, everyone's premium goes up. So it's not a victimless crime. It's not a petty crime. It's a serious crime. And when they nick £50 worth of goods hundreds of times over from supermarkets, what supermarkets do is put their prices up. So everyone suffers. And what we've got to do is get rid of this definition, petty crime. All crime is crime.
Yes.
And it must be, criminals must be apprehended, they must be prosecuted, and they must be punished. And only if criminals believe that that will happen will they cease to be criminals.
Exactly. And they may not start on the criminal run in the first place. I mean, I watched a piece of video today at one point, I don't know if you saw this, Emma, on social media, on Twitter, of a guy who was it was a petrol station, but with one of those M&S attached to it, and he was just loading boxes of chocolates into a rucksack, and there was a security guard, you can only see him from the waist down, a security guard with a yellow high-vis vest on, telling him to stop. No, he was watching it and saying, you can't do that. And the guy just continued doing it and making more and more space. He did about 25, 30 boxes of chocolates. He just picked it up and ran out the door. And nobody stopped him.
But why would the security guard intervene? Because A, he'd probably get sued, you know, probably
True,
get
but I mean, he is a
some kind of
security
legal appeal.
guard.
Secondly, he's not going to get a bonus for appealing. He might get a knife in his between the ribs. He's not, you know,
There's no upside.
There's no upside for him. But Mike, also, this thing about prisons and overcrowding, why are the prisons overcrowded? The prisons are overcrowded partly because the police are not bothering with crime. Secondly, the prison system needs a total overhaul.
Yes.
Prisons need to be a place where people go in and they do something and they work and they train at something and they are rehabilitated and they come out and they're ready to be citizens again. They're ready to stop offending. They're ready to stop taking drugs, whatever they've been doing. Instead of which they go in, they get hooked on drugs, they learn crime from other inmates,
they get recruited to things.
And they re-offend. So obviously we've got this revolving door. The prison system simply doesn't work. You can't just... It's like a glorified hotel.
Yeah.
They're locked up, but they're in a kind of hostel, aren't they?
Yeah.
It's
but why
not
can't we
doing
just
anything.
build more prisons? I mean, there is this kind of NIMBY aspect to it.
But that's
People
not the
say
solution. There are
they
about
don't-
6 prisons that are being built and they haven't...
Well, the answer is that the prison state, as it is in some cases, fairly appalling condition as well.
Yes.
It's also been run by such geniuses over the last 14 years as Liz Truss, with, you know, the famous dogs that bark at drones comment, smuggling in drugs into the cell. But the issue is that day-to-day government spending has been squeezed, and of course, you know, departments have increasingly looked to. This isn't just in prisons, in the courts. It's in a whole array of criminal justice infrastructure as well. They've taken money from the capital allocation and put it into revenue spending, which has, of course, meant that, yes, some prisons are being built, but they're well behind schedule. And of
that's
course,
the other thing, that everything we build is behind schedule.
Yes, and of course, the other end of the
behind
system is the geniuses that are this government privatised the probation services. That didn't work. They had to renationalise it under David Gauke. So people who could have been taken out of prison and maybe rehabilitated into society, thereby freeing up space, didn't work. Root to stem, it hasn't worked, Mike, under the Tories' management. And I hope to God, if Keir Starmer gets in, he brings his experience in the CPS to bear in making the criminal justice system in this country work and giving us a prison estate that's a deterrent, but also treats prisoners humanely as well when they're in.